Here in Greater West Bloomfield, our celebration of Reading Month extends not just to our readers and our favorite books, but local authors who are making a splash themselves in our local reading community. Joining us now on the program is an author with experience in sci-fi and fantasy and a little bit of historical fiction himself, Donovan Neal, who will be one of the authors featured at the 2025 Author Fair at the library. Thank you so much for being with us, Donovan.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you on as we preview your appearance at our author fair that is coming up. Tell us a little bit about your style of storytelling and how you do kind of mix different elements and different genres into your stories.
Basically, my specialty or niche is Christian speculative fiction. I've written a 4-book series about the fall of Lucifer. And what I try to do is take the things that we do and do know about the Bible in that particular story, and mix that in a narrative type of way. And in the same way, if you're familiar with The Chosen, I know that's a really fantastic television show that's out right now. And so using elements similar to that type of storytelling where you are looking at actual historical events and speculating to some degree about the things that we don't know and creating a very interesting tale that people can enjoy.
And it's a unique blend of these genres, as I mentioned before that first question, because you're not only bringing into this sort of theological themes and stories, and as you mentioned, different moments in history where you are forced through your storytelling to analyze them through a different lens. You're also blending in some fun with fantasy and with science fiction as well. What about that makes, in your opinion, for a more interesting telling of these stories from Christian texts and also from our history?
Well, I think as far as the story itself, one of the most fascinating things to me is about is the fact that Lucifer, Satan, the devil, call him what you will, he's already in the garden. And so I call my story the prequel to the Bible, not to be sacrilegious, but to emphasize the fact that the fall of Lucifer is the mitigating event that launches virtually everything that we see about in the Bible. And in terms of fantasy, I love Tolkien, The Lord of the Rings, all of that, and what you can bring by bringing to life different elements that are obviously different from our real world setting and mixing that together with what we do know from history and creating, again, a dynamic tale. So
the West Bloomfield Local Author Fair is happening Sunday, March 23rd from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the West Bloomfield Township Public Library. More information can be found on the Author Fair, including some of our local authors like Donovan Neal, who will be joining us at the event on WBLIB.org. Donovan, you have such an interesting background in working with nonprofits and working in ministry as well. And so how did you get into storytelling and becoming an author? By
accident on some level. I would say that my old creative, I went to Churchill High School in Livonia. I had a creative writing final exam, wrote a 100-page novel that was a mix of science fiction. And I didn't write again probably for about 20 years between that time frame. So there was just simply a story that I wanted to see told. And I had not seen that story told in any type of way that really satisfied me. And so in my audacity and I would even say naivety, I decided that I was going to write this story, at least for myself. And as would have it, as I published this, after I published the story, people resonated with it. They enjoyed it. And I remember one particular person who read it before it came public. Man, you've got to publish this story. So I did, and kind of the rest is history.
Donovan Neal is with us on The Splash Live, a local author from right here in the Greater West Bloomfield area that will be joining the Greater West Bloomfield community at the local author fair on Sunday, March 23rd, as we continue our local celebration of March being Reading Month. And so as you get that opportunity that you're going to have this weekend to talk to book lovers and other authors across the community, what do you pick up as a creative from being able to have that dialogue, both with people that are reading your books, but also others that are going through the same sort of experiences through that creative process themselves?
Well, when you're an author and you have an event like this, and again, shout out, kudos to the West Bloomfield Local Library for doing this. When you're there as an author, you have the opportunity to not just network or interface, connect with local authors, and there's various things that you can learn and pick up from them in terms of various shows, writing styles, just tips of the trade, as it were. And then there's just the overall satisfaction of being able to meet your fans and those individuals who will become fans. And so it's always a wonderful thing when you meet someone who's actually read your materials and they come and realize, hey, you're going to be in the area and I want to meet you. I want you to sign my book. I can't tell you the number of occasions where I've had instances like that, but it's always wonderful to talk with people just about storytelling, what they find, what they enjoy. And even if they don't enjoy the specific genre that I write in, usually in an event like this, you can direct them to another author that will meet the needs of what they're looking for as far as their entertainment dollars are concerned.
His book, The Third Heaven, will be on display as part of the local author fair at the West Bloomfield Township Public Library. Again, that is happening Sunday, March 23rd, 1 p.m. until 4 p.m. at the main library here in West Bloomfield. And so, Donovan, as you went through the process of writing The Third Heaven, what was, in your opinion, the most challenging aspect of it, and what was the most rewarding aspect that you got out of putting that story out there?
The most challenging aspect of writing a story like this is the reality is there's just simply things that we do not know. There's simply things that the Bible are sacred texts for both Christians and those of Jewish and even Islamic persuasions. There's simply things we do not know. And so trying to satisfy, in particular, again, I write to a Christian audience primarily, trying to satisfy all of Christendom is impossible. And so there's no way that anything that I write can be looked at as in a prescribed doctrinal way. It has to be looked at from a speculative standpoint. So that was the most challenging thing, really being able to try to take a story and do justice and reverence to what for majority of the world's populations is a sacred text. And so that's the most challenging thing. The most rewarding thing was basically getting the book done, getting it finished, and taking a step back and looking at it and said, wow, we did it. And I think one of the biggest compliments that I get after individuals read the stories is, wow, this should be a movie. This should be, I need to see this on the big screen. And what's ironic about that for me is that when I wrote the series, I wrote it from the standpoint of, if I was at Imagine Novi and I was sitting back, how would I want this story told to me? And so with all of that, I love movies, I love video games, comics, I grew up with all of that. And so I have a very vivid imagination. And so I wrote that book like I would want to see Lord of the Rings in the theater for the first time. And so when I get a reader that resonates with that, and that lets me know I did my job.
And as a reader and as someone that just really enjoys imagery in text, that's something that would attract me to a story like this. But you mentioned that this is primarily aimed, your stories are primarily aimed at Christian audiences, but you're tackling issues that are pretty universal across different faiths and even those that maybe don't practice a specific faith or religious experience. It's good versus evil. So, and that's really the big underlying theme of this. How do you then incorporate these themes into these stories in a way that will still also resonate with people that maybe don't have a background in Christian ministry or may not be Christians themselves?
Mm-hmm. You definitely don't have to be a Christian to enjoy the story. Most of us in Western civilization understand the stories, whether we connect with them on a personal level or not. As a matter of faith, we're familiar with the story of the fall of Lucifer, devil, Satan, call him who you will. We're familiar with that. And so I think they're just simply overarching themes that are in the story. Rebellion, what it's like not to be satisfied, what it's like to gather those around you who have the same type of thinking that you have. It is a classic good versus evil story. I'm a classicist in that sense. I like to see good win out over evil. And so in my books, good definitely wins. But you're seeing the descent of darkness and how someone in an idyllic environment can move from a position of privilege, from a position of prosperity from a position of having everything that they want or desire, but still not being satisfied. And really what the implications of that are for us as we live out our daily lives, both with each other, and if we are persons of faith, how we interact with God.
Donovan Neal is with us on the Splash Live, one of many local authors you will see at the West Bloomfield Local Author Fair happening Sunday, March 23rd from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the West Bloomfield Township Public Library. Donovan, we're going to see so many people who have taken the plunge into writing their stories, getting that book out in our community as we attend the Local Author Fair. For you, and as you're talking to us today, and as you're going to be interfacing with people that maybe have a story in them that they want to tell, what advice do you have for perhaps first-time authors that may emerge from our community beyond this weekend's event?
That's a great question. The biggest thing that I can tell individuals who are writing and want to write a novel, memoir, I mean, I see all different types of writing styles and persons, is simply finish. So you don't get any points for starting. You have to finish until you finish it. And you can sit back and say, the end. You don't have a product to market. So finishing is the main thing. You can edit it after you finish it, but it's important that you tell yourself the story, write the story down, and that you tell it to yourself so that by the time at the end of the day, you can look back and say, yes, this is the complete story. Now that you have this lump of clay, as it were, now you can do the hard work of shaping it even more into something that's presentable for public consumption.
Donovan Neal is with us on the Splash Live. You can find more information on him and his stories on donovanmneal.com, or better yet, join him at the West Bloomfield Township Public Library's main branch Sunday, March 23rd from 1 to 4 p.m. for the Local Author Fair. Donovan, anything else before we let you go today?
Well, I just hope to see various ones out there. Hopefully it'll be a great day. And I'm sure we'll have a great time talking about all the various stories that we have out there. So, and again, thank you for hosting me today.
Appreciate having you on, Donovan. Thank you so much.